thinking about what you can, what you love, what you would love to contribute, what you would love to feel, rather than focusing on everything that's wrong now. And our body, every cell in my, as I'm learning about it, listens to our body, and it listens to our thoughts. It listens to everything we think, whether we say it out loud. And our conscious thoughts are like the top of a head of a pin, and our subconscious thoughts are like what would fill a stadium, a football stadium.
The missing piece has the privilege of speaking with Dr. Lynn Brinckmeyer this week. It was such an inspirational conversation. Dr. Lynn Brinckmeyer has her own program, which is finding your path in life. If you want to reach Dr. Lynn Brinckmeyer, you can reach her at a website, which is findingyourpathinlife.com, or email her, Lynn at findingyourpathinlife.com. She is willing to talk to you. She is inspiring. She's a retired professor from Texas A&M University in Dallas. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, for our podcast, we are having Dr. Lynn Brinckmeyer. I will be talking today on emotional and mental wellness from within. This is going to be the topic of today. Dr. Brinckmeyer, can you introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. Dr. Lynn Brinckmeyer. I was at Texas State University in San Marcos for the last 2 decades and recently retired because I moved to Lubbock, Texas, where I have been serving as a caregiver for my bonus father. And so I wanted to continue on as a coach because I was an associate dean when I was at Texas State University, and I've been mentoring students and children and also adults my whole life. So that's why I got into the career and life coach, in addition to still doing music education workshops and conducting choirs across the country. So I'm delighted to have this opportunity to have a conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brinckmeyer. And today, as we continue to talk about mental health in amputation, I am an amputee. Um, um, as we continue to talk about mental health in amputation and the emotional discord that amputees, and not only amputees, but other people with traumatic disorder do have, I am glad that we have somebody here with that kind of background to help us talk about different emotional and wellness support that we amputees or other individuals may need.
For me, it truly means, are your thoughts in alignment with what you would love to do rather than what you don't like about your life? Because if you're emotionally healed, you're looking at, in my perspective, not doctor of that type by any means, it's always thinking about what you can, what you love, what you would love to contribute, what you would love to feel, rather than focusing on everything that's wrong. Now, I'm not an amputee. One of my dear friends, when I was a young mother, had lost his hand in an accident, and so we watched him and helped him navigate that life. So I've walked alongside an amputee, but I certainly have not been one, and I know some of the challenges, and just the resilience that he showed in finding ways that he could still continue on without his right hand, even though he was right-handed, was astounding. And he thought constantly about what he could do, not about his limitations. And so my sense that is a strong component of that, focusing on what is good, what you have gratitude for, what can still bring you joy, and what are the things you can do rather than focusing on what's missing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brinckmeyer. Continuing with the foundation of healing, I have another question. How do emotional and mental wellness connect to our overall physical health?
I believe it has everything to do with the physical health because I'm not sure if you're in your membership that listen to you are aware of the David Hawkins, Hertz vibration scale that, the thoughts of love and joy are, they vibrate. All of our thoughts and our emotions and things now we know can be scientifically measured, and we want to aim that my perspective is to aim to be around gratitude, hope, joy, which is somewhere, around 450, 500. But shame, anger, frustration, those are very low vibrations that are around 20, 30, 40, very low. And our body, every cell in my as I'm learning about it, listens to our body and it listens to our thoughts. It listens to everything we think, whether we say it out loud. And so to have more vibrant health, it's really paying attention to the thoughts that you've got going on in your mind. And it's not that we won't ever have uncomfortable thoughts or dark thoughts or sad because I mean we're human beings. It's how long do we stay in those energies or when do we come back to focusing again on gratitude and what is going well. And so that and I'll just say something else about the body. The New England Journal of Medicine did a study, and I believe it was 2013. I think it was about 21 years long, and there were about 200 patients that were Alzheimer's patients, and they had half the patients that were doing social dancing very several times a week. I don't know exactly how many times. The other group did not do social dancing, and the group that did social dancing and moving around and having fun thoughts in their head, they had 76% more mental acuity at the end of that study compared to the other people who did not. And so I think there's so much going on that we're still learning about the brain and how it affects our mental wellness as well as our physical wellness. I mean, I think they're interrelated very much. So that's my perspective.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really is good perspective because sometimes our mental acuity is very vital to us so that what we do physically can help us mentally as well. As an amputee, a left hand amputee who lost my left dominant hand um to an accident, my physical acuity has helped me out a lot more than just sitting down and waiting for my mental to get better in order for my physical being to to keep going. But I am glad you're saying this right now. Okay, I have this one here which is the mind and self-awareness of ourselves. How important is talk how important self-talk into the healing process? How is it important?
I think it's actually probably the most important thing that you can do because, as I mentioned, that every word and every thought is we can measure those vibrations. And if your thoughts are constantly on the negative side and what the limitations are, the notice what you're noticing is when I'm certified to be a life coach with Brave Thinking Institute. Mary Morrissey is the founder of that company. And she said, notice what you're noticing. And it's not judging ourselves that you had an angry thought or that you had a frustration thought or sad or those types of things. It's just noticing, oh, I'm thinking in those kinds of vibrations right now. I'm thinking about how sad I am rather than about what is all so good around me. And so that just noticing that and being aware of how often, and because our conscious thoughts are like the top of an iceberg. I've heard different variations, but one of the master coach at Brave Thinking Institute, she says that our conscious thoughts are like the top of the head of a pin, and our subconscious thoughts are like what would fill a stadium, the football stadium. And there's so much going on subconsciously, and if we notice our thoughts, then over and over and over again, and keep reminding ourselves to think thoughts that are about what the possibilities are rather than the limitations, that immersion of just constantly reminding ourselves to go back to what is good about this. Yes, I acknowledge the challenge. And so what's the lesson in here? What's the gift in here? What is positive about this situation?
Thank you so much. Do you want to go a little bit further on? Let me ask you, what role does mindfulness or self awareness play in emotional recovery?
I I think it's the main thing. I really do. Because, and I'll just give you an, I mean, as I said, I'm not an amputee, so I don't profess to be one. I did have just a little over 2 years ago, I stepped off the edge of a stage when I was conducting a women's choir for 3 days. Didn't realize that I was at the edge of the stage and I went into thin air, fell on the ground, and I severed my Achilles tendon. And so I wasn't able to walk at all. And for 5 months, nothing happened. It never healed. And then I ended up having surgery. So this was a too long journey that I'm still healing from. And when I went to the hospital, the person that talked to me said, this takes a long time to heal. Not sure you're ever going to be able to walk again without wearing a medical boot. And I've always been very, very active and dancing on stage with my students and doing all kinds of things, doing lots of hikes. That when I found that out that I would never be able to go up and down stairs again, I would never be able to dance, never be able to hike. They were telling me all the things I wouldn't be able to do. For 3 days, I was so depressed, I was miserable, absolutely miserable, and I thought, "I don't wanna live like this. I don't know what I can't do, but I'm gonna look on what I can, and if I ever wear this boot for the rest of my life, I'm still gonna focus on what I can." Well, it's 2 years later now, and yes, there's still some healing going, and I went to Uganda and I hiked the mountains, and I went up to see the mountain gorillas in their own habitat, and it was about 27 flights high, going upstairs comparable to doing that and then coming back down. Did my leg and foot hurt when I got home? Yeah, it sure did, and it was swollen, and I still did that. So I believed other people told me, "You're gonna be able to do this." The people that are in my coaching community, "You can do this, Lynn. Believe in what you can do." And so I focused on that, and I'm able to do all the things that I was told I wouldn't be able to do. Now that's just a small portion of what my healing journey has been. It still does demonstrate, though, focusing on what I can do rather than what I couldn't do, and I was just much happier in my mind than I was constantly thinking about what I couldn't do.
Oh, wow. Yes, we can do a whole lot, even though in our state of despair or when we have physical ailments. There is a I did not know at the moment when I lost my hand, I did not know that I could do a lot more than I am doing right now because we take things for granted
Of course.
when we do have them. But after I lost my hand, I realized that we cannot take none of our body parts for granted because every one of them, every uh, um fiber of our body is important to us. And we can also challenge ourselves when something happens to show that we are able to do it. Yes, I will ask you another question because mind and body is very, very important to people who are healing. In your experience, what's the misconception people have about emotional healing?
I think sometimes I've noticed 2 trains of thought. There are some people who think that, okay, if you go see a counselor or you see a therapist or something like that one time and then you're done, then you're perfectly healed. And I'm not sure that that works with everyone. It might work with someone, but it doesn't tend to work, from my perspective. Then there's also the perspective that it takes years and years and years and years and years. And I will say that, any type of who we want to become the best person possible, yeah, it's like an onion that has a whole lot of little layers. We just keep peeling off a new layer of awareness and being a better human being. My understanding is, at least from the coaching training that I've gotten, is that you can continue to always refine, and you can, if someone is truly depressed and still because there's a grief process that goes along with the I'm not telling you what you don't already know, that there's a grief process with the life that you had, grief process with the loss of a particular part of your body, and that grieving process is important to have that time to grieve. And then if it's not able to get out of that grieving process, find a professional from my perspective, and so truly get a trained therapist who can particularly help people that are experiencing the type of loss that we're talking about today with the physical as well as the emotional. If it's sort of just feeling stuck that, I just don't know how to get going again, and you've come to terms, I mean, we all continue to love and grow, to live and grow, then finding someone like a life coach or some type of a professional, because we can't see ourselves as much as we try. We'll never see ourselves like other people do. We don't see our limitations the way other people do, or our strengths. Sometimes we have a tendency to criticize ourselves so much and not see the amazing things that we're already doing, and noticing those and celebrating those wins that we have. So getting some kind of a professional person in your life, either as a coach or a therapist, etc., can help you celebrate those things that are going so well, and being a kind ear to listen to the challenges. Okay, what's the gifts in here? How do we go from here? What's the next step? So we continue to move forward and where your hopes and dreams are 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
Wow. You know, I'm just lost in some of your conversation right now because the conversation is so good and it's such an healing process for somebody like me and also for my audience who are going to be listening to this right now, because most of my audience wants to hear something that is going to help them to come out and say, I'm not saying that they're going to heal, but what is going to help them to enable them to become, um once you are sick or you lost a body part, you can never be full again. But how do you manage it in life? And sometimes a lot of people are going through this and they need that. And I know you've already talked about pain and trauma, but let's deep dive again into it a little bit. How can individual safely confront past pain without reopen the wounds?
Well, I think first of all, it does depend on whether it needs, if someone is truly needs to see a skilled therapist, a medical therapist that can make sure and guide you, because I don't want to ever profess to be one. If someone is beyond that part and ready to look at their life, and Mary Morrissey, as it said, she's the founder, she had some challenges happen in her life. They were more financial, but she lost her church and then ended up owing $10 million, and she did pay that $10 million back because of someone had swindled some money. And she said that she was walking on the beach one day and she heard God say, this is a dark chapter, but it is not your whole book. And I love that analogy that this is, we do have dark chapters sometimes. Some of us, my chapter has been more with losing 3 family members in the last 2.5 years, and my mom and my bonus dad and a grandson. So those kinds of things that, they become part of our world. It has been a dark chapter, and there's still so much more that can help us move forward. And so that idea of looking at what is your next chapter? How do you want to get, maybe there's someone in your life that you don't even know yet who needs to hear from you because of the journey that you're experiencing, so they can follow along in your pathway and notice, oh, there is hope for me as well. I'm just thinking sometimes you see a child who's lost a limb or something, like seeing an adult, such as all some of you are, your members in your listeners, they may end up being that shining light for someone else because they're going through this journey, and I do call it a journey, and my sense is it's like, I mean, I used to teach it at Alamogordo, and the White Sands are very close in the United States. So you walk up 3 or 4 steps and you slide back 2, and you walk up 3 or 4. So then that's what I feel like, this journey of life, regardless of whatever type of challenge you're experiencing, it is a journey that sometimes we slip back and sometimes but we still have that guiding light keeping us going forward. And that another thing about the trauma, that at least when you're ready for, like a life coach, like I am, is that sometimes you can just write a letter to yourself, pour out everything, every angry, dark, frustrated, sad, hurtful thought you've ever had. It might be 10, 12 pages that you write and write and write and write. It may take you 2 or 3 days. When you finally write it all down, then you can go burn it in your backyard, if you have a barbecue pit or something like that, and tell yourself the things that you love about yourself, thanking God, and I am strong, I am resilient, saying those affirmations while you're burning those old dead words. that's one way that you might be able to release some of the trauma. Now, again, it's for people who are on the other side without the very, at the when things first happen. This is something to do when you're starting to look forward. So that's a possibility.
That's a great possibility. I'm glad you brought God into it because a lot of us needs prayers and put God first in everything that we do. I'm a Christian, and everything that I'm doing, I put God first in it. And you also touch on the missing piece, because this is the reason why I have this forum, so that people can talk about their missing piece. Your missing piece may not be a body part particular to you, but you said missing three individuals in the past couple of years. Those are your missing pieces in your life,
Right.
and they must have played a very vital role to you for their death to resonate so much in your thinking, because they're very important to you, and especially you said your mother was one of them.
Yeah, she was my rock.
Yeah, you know what? I lost my own mother when I was a child,
My goodness.
so I believe if she was here today, or if she was there when I am growing older, I would have said the same thing, that she was my rock. But even though she was gone when I was a child, I could see her, I could envision her being on the sideline,
No, that
being my greatest cheerleader.
yes, absolutely. That's so beautiful.
Okay, we have a few more questions. You can, when you are ready to let me go, just tell me. I will.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm going to sign off a couple minutes early, but I'm thoroughly enjoying this. Thank you for this opportunity.
No problem. What are what are healthy ways to release emotions like anger, guilt, or grief? You've already talked about it.
Well, and also one thing I can also add, when you're feeling those emotions, one of the research studies, I'm sorry I don't have that actual documentation, is if you allow yourself, let's just say a wave of anger comes over you, and you allow it to come over you, you feel it, and you just be neutral, just noticing that you're angry. Usually, about 90 seconds of grief or crying or any of those sorts of things, it will pass. What we tend to do as humans sometimes is we start going down into that dark hole, and we start ruminating in it, then we stay in it for a long time, or days or hours or whatever. If we just let the grief pass and then take a deep breath, okay, what is good about this? And asking, what am I grateful for? I mean, that asking those questions, I felt the emotion. If you don't want to bury the emotions and pretend they're not there, because they will resurface as an illness or something. We know that they don't ever go away unless we allow them to truly be felt. And then, okay, what's the gift here? What is the one lesson that I'm here to learn through this? Asking those types of questions. What's the gift? What's the lesson here? What is the message that I'm still listening for and receiving? Those questions will help us kind of flip that script on, instead of staying in the challenging emotion. Feel them, and then step on, because they'll pass in about 90 seconds to a minute and a half to 2 minutes.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And I will go. How does forgiveness of ourselves or others contribute to mental wellness?
Well, I heard one time at one of my coaching trainings that I received, it said, in order for you to jail someone, which would mean jailing somebody in your mind, if whether it's a person or a company or a situation or a military or whatever it is, in order to jail them, you have to be the jailer. Well, who's the one that doesn't sleep? The jailer is the one that's always watching and staying on top of things. The person in jail, if it is a person, can go to sleep, can live their life in that containment. But we we stay more angry, more frustrated, more whatever emotion you want to experience, when we are not forgiving. And that is allowing them to just sin. And as I mentioned, I talk to spirit, God, universe, whatever term someone wants to use. I call that energy God. in my life, and I am a Christian, and I know there are other people that are other religions, and I wanna honor all of that, is that when you're listening to yourself angry or frustrated or not forgiving, that's a low very low vibration in vibration scale of the hertz that I mentioned earlier, and also, it's a lot of work to stay angry, and so much of the time we're stay not forgiving, it's not even forgiving ourselves, and just forgiving ourselves, so, "Okay, that's a choice I made or that's a decision I made. If I had it to do over again, I probably would make a different choice," just allowing ourselves we all do the best we know how based on the experiences and the skill sets that we have. Every one of us does the best we know how. And if we knew how to do things better, we would. So we keep learning the lessons. And by forgiving others, I don't understand the choice. Doesn't mean that if someone did something to you is the reason that you lost a limb or something like that. It's not that they're right and you're wrong, or that you're right and they're wrong. It happened. I forgive them, I forgive me. I mean, there's some different meditation prayers and things like that that you might be able to I mean, I have some in the coaching program just to allow I send them unconditional love. I don't understand it. I'm not sure that I feel good about this. I send them unconditional God's love. Just every time you think about that, I send them unconditional love. And over time, at least with the people that have experienced this type of thing, in other situations and other kinds of missing pieces, like using losing someone to death, is it starts to dissipate. I forgive myself. I send myself unconditional love. I send that person unconditional love, rather than kind of um, exploring that same. Are we saying the same story over and over and over and over and over? I mean, that's a good question to ask ourselves. Is this the same story I told yesterday? Same story I told the day before? What's my new story? Yes, I acknowledge that old story, send them unconditional love, and this is my new chapter, my new story. I don't know if that answered the question or not.
Yeah, well, now you've answered the question because I remember when I was much younger, when my parents died, and I went to live with my mother's cousin. And at that time, when I went there first as a young girl at the time, I used to be angry because I am living in a different home and asking to do things that I am not used to be doing when my mother was alive was difficult for me at the time because I was very, very young. But then at an early age like that, I realized that if I start being angry and fighting the people that I'm living with, it's I don't know how many numbers against one, then I will be at the losing end. I s-
Hopefully, it's a good perspective.
and I start being when they ask me to do something, I said, okay. Clean the floor, no problem. Cook, yes. Do this, yes. I started being the yes girl.
Yeah.
And up to this day, being the yes girl is sometimes becoming detrimental to me because it's sometimes being the yes girl is not always good.
Yeah, to speak your truth, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's people take your kindness as a weakness rather than seeing that it's more humility and be than being weak. And so it's not like now I am starting to say no and stand my ground rather than being so much as a yes person because that's how I grew up to say, okay, no problem.
It sounds like a beautiful survival tactic that you adopted to, with that situation.
Of course, it's a survival tactics because otherwise, uh, it was the odds were against me, and I was not ready to fight against the odds. So I stay positive, and to this day, I am a very forgiving individual, positive, and not that I am not angry. I do get angry because I'm a human being, but I try to, um, wave it up off my mind quicker than let it sit with me and overnight. I usually tell people I go to sleep every night. And the reason why I go to sleep, it's because I made sure that whatever has gone on during the day, I don't take it to my pillow.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, you're already practicing the tools that we teach in the coaching program I'm in. Good good for you.
Yes. And do you have time for more? Let's see. We have time for a few more. So I will go to hope and growth. How can we maintain hope during challenging emotional seasons?
I think that, I do know that the seasons of Christmas and all those kinds of things, when they come, the holidays, they are challenging for people if you've had any kind of missing piece, regardless of what type of missing piece it is. So I know that, and I the more that I learn as a coach is if we focus on how to give to someone else and to help someone else based on what we know and how we know we can truly help, and not doing it out of resentment or doing it because you're afraid that you're outnumbered. That you're truly helping someone else because you want to and it brings you joy. When you're helping someone else, it's very hard to feel sad for ourselves and depressed because it's so beautiful to know that you're truly contributing to the world. That the more you're feeling stuck and sort of despondent in the hallway and excuse me, the holidays, if that's something you're going through, that hope can come through. How do I help this person? Waking up in the morning, how many people can I help today? How can I help that person out of joy, not being a martyr? Truly doing it from joy. If we do things from the space of being a martyr, then we think of ourselves as a victim, then that actually puts more negative information and energy into our body. But how, when you see, now, of course, I'm a teacher, so I'm a little bit biased on this and I'll or a lot biased, I'll completely own that. When I was in Colorado Springs this weekend and I was conducting about 100 fourth and fifth graders in this beautiful concert. We sang in this wonderful hall. Well, during the 2 rehearsal days, there was a part of a song that was a bit of a challenge. We're working on it, working all of a sudden they got it. And just seeing the light bulb go on and all, they were so proud of themselves and, "Can we do it again?" That type of energy. I mean, it just brings me so much joy. So any type of person that we're helping, when we see them truly all of a sudden they make a leap in their understanding or their skill set or their ability just to feel loved and that somebody knows them and hears them and sees them as human beings. I mean, that is so gratifying. And so that my perspective is the more we focus on being grateful for what we have, what we do have. Do you have running water? I know some people in South Africa and Tanzania and Uganda, they do not have running water. They do not have toilets. We have so much in our lives that, as you mentioned earlier, we take for granted, and just acknowledging that and being so grateful for how much we do have. And thank goodness we have podcasts, that.
Well, thank God we have somewhere to talk now because I just started this podcast. You are my third podcast.
Oh, I'm so honored to be part of the
So I am so glad to have you as my i- third interviewer when I start the podcast because again, this podcast is started because I am getting a lot of questions from other amputees because they feel that I am so strong, I am so able, I am doing things, I can go out. Yes, this is an amputee, she's doing it. And they ask me psychological questions, which I have no knowledge about. That's not my field. That's not where I am at. I want to bring it to the experts so that they can help me talk to those people because when this video is done, I also share it out to various individuals, not just my Facebook page, or I give it to everyone so that they can share it on their page so it goes wide and far so people can view it and listen to what we are saying. Do you have time for at least one or two more questions?
Please, Kelly, to do one more. I'd love that.
Okay. How do you personally recharge or care for your own mental wellness?
Well, I will say that the I have several practices. First of all, because I can move now and I don't wear a medical boot anymore, I walk almost every single day. Sometimes the weather may be a bit of a challenge. So physical activity is, and when I'm not able to go outside, I'm actually one of the co-founders, Jennifer Jimenez, is part of the Breathtaking Institute. She's Mary Morrissey's daughter. She has a platform that she created called Transcendence. And so I will turn on music and I'll be dancing here by myself. That this girl is on fire. That's what my favorite drunk, nowadays.
Girl is a fire.
Uh, when I dance to that or sing, if I've got stuff bugging me, I'll turn on Taylor Swift, "Shake It Off." So I'll jump up and down and shake it off, and so for 60 seconds, listen to Taylor Swift. I do movement, and and music, that helps me. I also, though, I journal every morning. I meditate almost every day. I definitely visualize the life that I want. I see myself doing the things that I'm still developing my skill set to do. And so those are practices that I do. And I do listen. I listen to other coaches and I listen to other podcasts because I don't listen to the news hardly ever. I want to be filled up with joy. I want to be filled up with people who are positive thinkers and not just to be Pollyanna, but to really, how do I contribute? What is the solution that I've got? How can I help this person be better? So I surround myself with those kinds of thinkers. That's what I do for my own mental health.
That's great because what I do for my mental health is helping others. You mentioned again, I started the Lydia Amputees Foundation to help other individuals who are less fortunate than me. And you talk about Africa, you spoke about Uganda and Tanzania and other places. Look, I am from Sierra Leone in West Africa.
Oh my goodness, I haven't been there yet.
And I have started this foundation in Sierra Leone to help other amputees in need. And what you talk about, the water that they don't have. This morning, I was reading an article of a guy called Ryan in Canada. He started building wells in Uganda, and now he has built over 400 wells, having the foundation there. Now he's 33 years old, but he started doing this when he was 9 years old, using his pocket money to send to Uganda to build the wells, to get the borehole. And the first time he sent the money was $270. So I was getting this article, and I'm so glad you said that. And we all doing things, little things to help other people in different areas of the world that are less fortunate. And don't let me and again, we are here in the United States. There are a lot of people who need help again. This morning, I just got a text from an amputee who said to me, she was just texting me a few minutes ago. I will read what she said to me. Victoria, you said, thank you so much for what you're doing for me. This is so huge. It has changed my life so much. Phoenix is a little son that she has, and our lives are now different for what she are doing for us. And she said she's gonna get a new hand in after Thanksgiving, which is y- again. I left New Jersey here, drove about an hour, pick her up, take her to Pennsylvania, another 45 minutes to an hour to take her to the prosthetic place that I use so that she can get a hand that is going to help her with her son. That's just one of them. And there are a lot of different little things that I do to help other individuals. And I am hoping that this podcast will go far and wide, and somebody like you who come on board will help me make this podcast more than what it is at this moment.
Well, I do have some contacts in Uganda and South Africa and Tanzania, and I will share your podcast information with them. Absolutely.
Well, well, Dr. Brinckmeyer. This is a wonderful time that we've had today. I am Lydia Gray. I am the founder for Lydia Amputees Foundation and the podcast called Missing Piece. With grateful hearts, I'm giving it to you now. I thank you for your time, for being here with me this morning. Your time, it's coming to noon. My time, it's the morning. For being here with me. It was a pleasure having you.
Well, I'm honored, absolutely, and I so respect all that you're doing. It touches my heart. I'm actually blanking back tears right now. Thank you so much for this privilege of being with you today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in into The Missing Piece. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and amplify more voices. Until next time, keep finding strength in your story.